Blessings and welcome to the path to freedom. This quite amazing, wonderful path where we continuously get to set ourselves free to shine, to soar, to be in ever-expanding peace and love and joy and harmony, to forever allow for greater and grander expressions of who and what we are. When we continuously get to set ourselves free from fear and from worry and from doubt, from a sense of not being enough, a sense of not having enough, when we get to reclaim our sanity. And this obviously is very potent right now with all the things that are happening in the world. There are wars, there are rumors of wars, there's a lot of things coming to the surface. And if we want to serve the world, and if we want to remain sane or reclaim our sanity, obviously we need a firm foundation upon which to stand. Oh, and I forgot. My name is Daniel Roqueo, and I'm very grateful that you are choosing to tune in, that you're choosing to join me in a moment of setting ourselves free, in a moment of going deeper and wider and higher into these beautiful practices, these beautiful tools that we have in our toolbox, or that we can put in our toolbox, so that we can pick them up and use them whenever need be. And for a whole lot of individuals, now is the time when there's a great need to have these beautiful tools. So the topic for today, I believe, is something along the lines of, when life gets intense, we need to intensify our practice. When life gets intense, we need to intensify our practice. And this beautifully speaks to how we may have a beautiful meditation practice. We may have a beautiful prayer practice, gratitude practice, journaling practice. We may have a beautiful hanging out in high-minded fellowship practice. And it may be solid, and it may have served us very, very well. And now, as things are swirling and as things are moving in the world, as things are moving within us, if we are no longer able to sustain the peace, if we are no longer able to remain sane in all the turmoil, in all the swirling, in all the moving, in all the challenges that are emerging into our experience on an individual level and on a collective level. I mean, the whole human race is going through a beautiful space of transformation right now. But for that transformation to happen, individually, collectively, we need to remain in a high vibration. We need to sustain our high vibration. So if we are experiencing being more and more pulled into negativity, or being more and more pulled into the lower vibrations, being more and more hijacked by fear, by worry, by doubt, or held hostage by thoughts and opinions and judgments as to what should and should not be, now is the time for us to step up our practice. When life gets intense, that is by no means the time for us to release our practice, but that is by all means the time for us to step up our practice. So regardless of what our practice looked like or used to look like, if it is no longer sustaining our vibration, it means that we need to allow it to expand. And I've had a very personal experience with this lately, as I am moving through yet another space of expansion, and life has intensified on various levels. And I found myself being more receptive to the lower vibrations, being more caught up in stories and beliefs and judgments and opinions. And it took me a while to understand what was happening. I mean, I realized that I was in a space of expansion. I realized that there were structures in my life that were crumbling and dissolving. But it still kind of puzzled me why I was not as grounded and anchored and centered in the nowness in this moment as I used to be, as I've become used to be. And then it dawned upon me that as I am expanding, it means that the foundation upon which I'm standing, which is the practice, that it needs to expand. As a tree grows, the roots need to grow. The more magnificent the oak tree becomes, the deeper its roots need to run, and the wider they need to spread to sustain that expansion, to sustain the structure, the expanding structure that the tree is. And this is exactly the same for us. If we are building our lives, if we are having, and I'm reminded in this moment of the story, I don't know why, but it just came to me, of the story about these three little kids, or not kids, pigs, and how, I don't remember the full story and I don't remember all the details, but one of the pigs built its house, was it from grass? Maybe. And the wolf comes and it huffs and it puffs and just blows the house away. And then next little piggy builds his house by twigs or branches, and the wolf comes and it huffs and it puffs and he blows the house away. And the last little piggy, he builds his house from concrete. I mean, he builds a real house, a sturdy house that is able to sustain the huffing and the puffing of the wolf. And we need to have that practice. We need to have a solid practice that fortifies us from the bombardment, incessant, relentless bombardment of the lower vibrations. Financial crisis, prices going through the roof, this disease, that disease to be aware of, or to be wary of, or to be afraid of, that condition, this condition to stay away from. There is so much. And if our practice is not sustaining our vibration, then we need to up-level our practice. And practicing is not only moving into meditation. It is not only being mindful of the words that we speak. It is not only moving into prayer, blessing ourselves and the world. It is not only moving into gratitude. It is not only staying in high-minded fellowship. It is not only studying. It is not only moving into generosity and giving and sharing. But our practice is just as much involves and incorporates what we're doing in our moments in between. Are we logging on to social media to be drained, to be exhausted, to be depleted? Are we turning on the news to find ourselves with our stomachs in a nut, contracted, wishing that we were living in a completely different world? So our practice is just as much becoming aware of what it is that we're saying yes to. Are we making choices that are in alignment with what we wish to experience? Are we making choices that are in alignment with what we wish for our lives to be about? How we wish to show up in the world? Are we making choices that serve us staying in peace and joy and harmony and wholeness, that serve us being beneficial presences, that serve us shining and glowing? Because no matter what is going on in the world. And I'm not saying that there are not things going on in the world. There are plenty of things going on in the world. There's so much that needs to change. So many systemic systems and structures that need to dissolve, that we as individuals and as a collective need to release and let go of. There's so much, but it does not serve the emerging of the new world. It does not serve the midwifing of the new world, a world that works for everyone, a world that works for where everybody gets to have their needs met. It does not serve us to lean into habitual ways of being that just drains us, that just contracts us, that closes our hearts, that makes us don't want to be here anymore. None of that serves us. So being mindful of our practice and allowing it to intensify is being mindful of the choices that we are making on a moment-to-moment basis. And a beautiful question, and I know that this is not the first time that this question finds its way into one of these talks, but a beautiful question is this choice that I'm making, or this choice that I just made, is this in alignment with what I wish to experience? And if turning on the news is not in alignment with what we wish to experience, then perhaps that's an indication, then perhaps that's an invitation for us to release the news, to stop watching the news. If it does not uplift us, if it does not empower us, if it does not inspire us, why even bother? It's not like we're gonna miss something. And I'm not saying for any of us to stop watching the news. I'm not giving advice in any way, shape, or form. This is just an invitation to become mindful. I have this saying, and I always say this to my kids, that if it's not inspiring, if it's not uplifting, if it's not kind, we might as well shut up. We might as well be quiet. We might as well say nothing. If we have nothing to say that contributes to, or if we have nothing to do that contributes to midwifing the transformation that is happening, facilitating the transformation that is happening in the human consciousness, then we might as well not say anything. Then we might as well not do that thing. Because ultimately, even though we're doing this for ourselves, I mean, moving into meditation, it is beautiful as it allows for a beautiful stillness, not necessarily in every meditation, but it allows, in the long run, over time, over a period of time, it allows for expanding stillness, it allows for expanding peace of mind. I was going somewhere. I don't know where I was going. So the invitation is for us to be mindful of our practice. Is it sustaining us? And if it is not, what new choices can we make? How can we allow our practice to expand? What do we perhaps need to say no to that we previously have said yes to? If it's not sustaining our vibration, if it's not making us feel good. And please do not hear that life is all about feeling good or being happy all of the time, because it is not. We're in this human realm where we're having our human reactions to that which happens. But if our practice is not sustaining a sense of well-being, if it is not sustaining our sense of knowing and trusting, feeling that all is well, that something wonderful is happening, that everything is working for the highest good, even when it doesn't feel like it, even when it doesn't look like it, even when we can't see it or know it. If our practice does not sustain that, if it does not support that, then it is the time for us to up-level, to expand our practice, to intensify our practice. Oh, I got sidetracked. So as I became aware that the practice that I used to lean into, the foundation that I had built for myself, that it was no longer sustaining who I am now, that was a beautiful invitation for me to expand the practice. It did not necessarily mean that I sat longer in meditation, but it did mean that I turned my attention more to coming back to the nowness of this moment, to using the moments in between in a more intensified, in a more expanded way than I had previously done. So coming more back to the breath, leaning more into my affirmations. All is well, something wonderful is happening, everything is working for the highest good. So that I could continue to move through this space, intensified space. Because life progresses. I am evolving, I am expanding. So this new intensified field, I have a strong sense, and this sense is partly based on experience, that I know that when I grow and expand, life becomes more intense. More things are being put on my plate. Not because I'm trying to stuff my life, but because I'm able to hold more. I'm able to facilitate more. I am, as the conduit that I am, that we all are, is expanding, more gets to flow through that conduit, that channel. So this intensification in my life, it is here to stay. It is not only temporary, but it is here to stay. And so I need to adapt to that. We need to adapt to the expansion that we're going through, that we're moving through. Just like the caterpillar needs to adapt. Actually, the caterpillar dies, but and that is actually what we're doing too. We're dying to our littleness. Every time we expand, we're dying to our littleness. We're dying to who we used to be. We're dying to the small and the limited version of who and what we used to be. So there is a continuous dying, not a physical transition from this realm to another realm, but a dying in consciousness, a dying in our beingness, so that the next great and grand version may emerge. And once again, as the tree grows, their foundation needs to grow with them. If the roots remained the same year in, year out, while the tree expanded, while the tree grew, there would come a point where the roots would not be able to keep the tree standing anymore, but it would fall, it would crumble. And we do not want to crumble. We want to remain standing. We want to remain upright. We want to remain shining and glowing, even in the midst of this, even in the midst of all the turmoil, even in the midst of everything that is happening in the world. We want to remain standing. We want to remain glowing and shining, expanding into ever expanding peace and love and joy and harmony and wholeness, regardless of the conditions, regardless of the circumstances. So that's our invitation for us, to be mindful of our practice, to take a good and honest look at the practice that we're currently having, asking ourselves, is this serving me? Is this the foundation I need to keep moving forward? Or do I need to strengthen this foundation? So that's one question. We can ask another question, obviously, is this choice that I'm about to make, this choice that I just made, is this in alignment with what I wish to experience, who I'm becoming, who I am? Thank you so much for tuning in. If listening to this resonates with you, or watching this resonates with you, if hearing this resonates with you, I invite you to invite your friends, anyone who you feel might benefit from hearing this, so that this field continues to expand. Thank you so much. Until we meet again, I absolutely bless all of our days, and I bless all of our ways, knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that all is well, that something wonderful is happening, that everything is working for our highest good. Much love, many blessings. Namaste.